If you were desperate, you would get on that boat with your children. I'm sorry, but you would. Any of you
No, your children aren't turning up. They're all military-aged men, economic migrants.
That's the deal.
Yes, then.
Because it's about empathy, humanity, caring.
What about empathy?
Wouldn't you want someone to try and save you if you were desperate?
What about the empathy, humanity and caring for the people here?
We've got enough to go around if we only distribute it properly.
Is it any wonder this country is in such a mess when you listen to people like this woman? And to think lots of people in power and government think exactly like her. You'll hear her regurgitate the same nonsensical arguments we hear all the time. Then, every time those arguments get disproved, they just move the goalposts. They don't care about what is true or not. They care about allowing as many illegal immigrants as possible into the country, and they'll tell any lie to justify getting them in. She said they all want to come here because English is the global language. We're flattered, but tough. That doesn't give everyone the right to move here. Some refugees came here legally in the 1970s from remote parts of China. They spoke a rare dialect of Cantonese. They learned English from scratch in 3 weeks by studying every day because they were determined to see their families prosper in their new home. If all these illegal immigrants are fleeing for their lives and desperate for a better life, learning a new language should not be that much to ask of them. They should be grateful for the chance to learn a new language. None of that matters to this woman. To show humanity and empathy, we need to let them all in. My empathy and humanity are for the British people first and foremost. And it most definitely does not extend to those who want to move here and do us harm. She does, however, contradict herself and pretty much admits illegal immigration is a threat to security. Unbelievably, she says, well, if you are so concerned, how about stop all the single young men coming in? Finally, we are getting somewhere. As her opponent says, the overwhelming vast majority are young men. If we stop them, it's problem solved. What was striking was this debate explicitly shows how the threat of cancel culture looms large over right-wingers. One guy said he's scared of Britain becoming an Islamic nation in the future. Another said illegal immigration is an invasion. I found it interesting that before they made those statements, they said, I know by saying this, I'll risk being fired or making people angry. I've never heard anyone on the left say, I might get fired for this, before making the statement of, I believe we should have open borders. Yes, an invasion conjures up the vision of an invading force, but by the dictionary definition, it also means unwanted intrusion into one's domain. Therefore, this does fall under the literal definition of an invasion. Here's the debate.
So many on the left will get angry at me when I say that it's an invasion, we are being invaded. But it's hard to argue when already this year we've had 31,000 illegal entries to this country via the channel, 5,400 in October alone. Now, we hear stories from the authorities in France, from Dunkirk, from Calais, of gunfights in the camps, of machete wars. Now, these people are either on their way or they're already here in this country. We have no idea who is entering the UK or who the government is going to give asylum to. Our system is being gamed from around the world. Yes, there are genuine asylum seekers, but most of these coming across are not that. Our communities are being put at risk. We have asylum seekers and migrants pretending they are children and ending up in our children's schools. We have crimes emanating from the migrant hotels. And recently, unfortunately and tragically, we've seen a murder from a staff member of one of the migrant hotels. So I'm asking the panel, are our communities being put at risk?
Yeah, well, Renee?
So I think definitely. I mean, I'm really worried about this. And as a mother of a young girl as well, same as Adam, a 5-year-old, I loathe to think the world that is evolving in front of us, because society is being changed by these migrants coming in with different values to ours. They have a different moral ethos, and they view women very differently to the way that hopefully the men around me view
I mean,
them.
I'll probably get sacked for saying this, but I actually deeply worry about living in a country in which the established church is no longer the dominant religion, and in fact it's Islam that is the dominant religion. And I probably will get sacked for saying that.
No, I agree with you on that, but I actually think the problem is that we confuse immigration with illegal immigration in this debate a lot. Now, I've got my issues with the amount of illegal migrants in this country, but the fact of the matter is illegal immigration shouldn't even be an issue. You should be able to secure your border. That number should be zero. How this has somehow become combined with racism, combined with the idea of multiculturalism, it's a separate debate.
Agreed.
I mean, all I can say is the wokey, obviously, is, and being married to an immigrant, somebody that his parents fled war in Myanmar, is that if you were desperate, you would get on that boat with your children. I'm sorry, but you would. Any of you
but no, children aren't turning up. They're all military-aged men, economic migrants.
You don't come from Switzerland or France or Germany and be desperate to escape war.
But Renee, look, the reason people end up here is because they've already been told they're not going to be allowed to settle in wherever they end up, like France. That's the deal.
Say yes, then?
Because it's about empathy, humanity, caring.
What about empathy?
Wouldn't you want someone to try and save you if you were desperate?
What about the empathy, humanity and caring for the people here?
We've got enough to go around if we only distribute it properly.
Nikki, you've just been saying that you're deeply worried, right, about violence against women.
Of course,
but what about
by
the violence
all kinds
that's
of
been
men.
committed against women by the boat people who've arrived here?
Well, you know what, actually, and I've said this before on this channel multiple times, if you've really got an issue with that, then just stop young men coming in. Only have women and children migrants in.
But it's 90% men that are coming in. And Darren...
Single men, yes.
Look, it's costing this country $5.4 billion to house these people, give them health care and fully support asylum seekers. Now,
we can't keep our pensioners...
Exactly that. We can't even give our pensioners £300, which was $1.4 billion, I believe, per year. Yeah. So this problem is a huge one, and taxpayers and people that I speak to are sick of it.
But there is no solution to immigration. It's one of those political problems we will debate forever and ever and ever because it's just a fact of life.
There's a solution to illegal. There's a solution to illegal immigration.
Yeah.
It really annoys me that this is somehow a difficult challenge for us to solve. Australia did solve it in the early 2010s.
And left loads of people in the water drowning, yes.
No, in the long term it creates a deterrent which stops people from drowning because less people get on rickety boats.
In the process.
No, less people get on rickety boats. This is the safer option for people.
200 people have died trying to cross the Channel in the last 5 years. Let's not forget that. I'm not blaming the migrants, I'm blaming the system. As soon as they know they're going to get free everything, they're going to come. It's the system that needs to change.
And if you were coming from a war-torn country with a dictator, you would do exactly the same.
This characterisation is just wrong. Most of them are economic migrants coming from safe countries. We know that. That's a fact.
Why wouldn't you just turn up at that embassy of the country you want to go to and claim asylum
there? Because what if it's Britain and you already speak English because it's the global language of the world?
Well, tough to
But if they were... If they were coming from a war-torn country where they would be granted asylum, they wouldn't throw their passports overboard because they wouldn't have to. But
they don't have any documentation, lots of them.
Oh, they do. They throw it overboard.
Look, Darren, we need mass deportations. That is the only way we're going to solve this problem, or turn around the boats like Australia did and Greece did. They might have got raps on the knuckles, but that's all that happened.
Andrea has a question for you, Adam. She says, she puts it to you and Nikki. She says, why do these men leave their women and kids behind?
Exactly.
Well, they're single men. They don't leave women and kids behind. They're young men with no
If there was a war in the UK, I would not leave my wife and my children to be at risk.
But they're not
I would
often
take
married.
them
That's
with
just
me.
a misnomer. Sorry. That's not factually accurate.
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't risk their lives coming over the channel in the first place in a small little dinghy.